Howdy, folks, and welcome to this incredibly special interview because I am joined once again by Dinga and Sebastien, the game director and art director of a game you may have heard of. It's coming out this year, supposedly. Deathloop. It's such a pleasure to talk to you guys once again. Welcome back. Also, before I nearly forgot, we have Matthew, who is a translator for Sebastien. So let's not forget that Matthew is the echoing voice within Sebastien's soul. With that said, salut, Quarof.
Hello there. How are you?
Hi.
I'm
happy to see you again.
It's such a pleasure. I'm doing extremely well. Not much has changed since last we spoke, but nonetheless, I'm happy to be talking to you folks again. So, with that said, how are you folks holding up? How are you doing over this past year? You've had a bit of a journey, but here we are. How are you holding up with all things considered, Deathloop?
Well, pretty good. I mean, there is something we like to say about our games that they quite assemble near the end. You know, like there is so many moving parts, so many things that talk to each other that need to be at a certain level before they start being enjoyable, etc., etc. And we've passed that a while back. So now it's really, debugging the game, tying up all the loose ends. So it's the last stretch. We did quite a bit of playtesting because that's one of the things that is difficult when you're working at home. So we've been doing actually a lot of that in the recent months. So we have a good view on where the game is, etc., etc. And yeah, we're pretty pumped, I say.
Sebastien, how have you been doing?
We're really excited. Our games, as you know, they're not always very easy to talk about quickly. We're here, we have really a good communication going for a year, and more recently we started really explaining the game. Press was really happy to have the answers to their questions, so that was really important to us. It enables us to keep making the games like we want to, and we have great marketing support for that, so yeah.
I have to ask, what is the feeling like now as you're getting closer? It's been a journey. We've been in the midst of a pandemic. There's been delays. There's a lot going on. But is there, this is the cliche, like, is there a bitter, of course the bittersweet feeling will come when it's out. But, what is it feeling like getting closer and closer?
The most bittersweet part, I like to say, it's kind of a kind of postpartum moment where you're not needed anymore on the game. Like right now, we are so needed. Everyone is asking for things, and we have still decisions to make, priorities, etc., etc. And at some point, the game is in the wild. It's doing, it's living its own life, and then you start saying, okay, so I guess we go back into the shadows for 4 years or something. But no, we are not there yet. I mean, we're still. As for me, at least, I'm quite excited to see. What players will do with the game, to see the first streams going online, the first rivalries emerge between different people. I'm eager to invade people also, and I mean it's kind of the feeling of when you're prepared everything for this big party. You have everything in place, the balloons, the snacks, everything, and you're just waiting for someone to enter the door. Oh, maybe wait, I should probably put that thing aside, and maybe so and so doesn't have the address. But it's kind of this feeling. It's excitement, and honestly, all things considered, the fact that we were at all able to make such, I would say, an interesting game with all those moving parts, both the immersive simulation elements, the time loop elements that is quite original, the structure, and and all that in the midst of, as you say, we are all working from home, adapting to new ways of living and working with your daughter nearby, things like that. That we were at all able to do it. I think it's a great testament of the level of effort that the team has put into this. We're pretty proud. Would want for a more simple is never the case, but a more expected production next time, probably. But the fact that we could emerge from all those complications, we're pretty happy. We think that as Sebastien said, the feedback we are getting on the game from the people who saw it recently was very energizing for everyone in the team. So pretty good.
Sebastien, how are you feeling? Are you finally a little relieved to some degree?
Yeah, it's always strange. We always say, to let the baby go in public. It's kind of like a hangover. You spent 4 years on a project, all of a sudden you let go. The only difference, like Dinga was saying, usually we spend our days and nights reading the comments, and Dinga says, "How did you read this? Did you see this?" Everyone at Arcane does that because once you've let the baby out, you want to see what's going on. In this case, yes, we're going to be able. It's the first time that we're going to be able to invade. The relationship between developer and player is going to be a little bit more complicated, and I'm so impatient to discover that. It's going to be so much fun.
We know this is going to be a PS5 exclusive at the moment, but one thing I do want to talk about is kind of a resurgence in Arcane, or like the ability for games like Dishonored and Prey to see a new audience thanks to Game Pass. And I just kind of want to get your feelings on what that's been like, having spent so much time now working on Deathloop, to suddenly halfway, towards the end of its release, to see almost like this kind of like this new breath of people experiencing Arcane games again. What is that like to be able to see that while head down on the next project?
Yeah, it's interesting because to be fair, it's been I'm not on Twitter since a long time. Like it's a recent thing, but what's been interesting for me is every now and then, for the last 3 years, I have seen every now and then someone discovering Dishonored or Dishonored 2 or Death of the Outsider or Prey, and starting to post incredible screenshots or telling their stories and telling their friends, "Oh, you're missing out if you haven't played this," etc., etc. And actually, we've seen that. It's just that since, as you say, the Arcane games got on the Game Pass, we're seeing that at a higher pace. Like it's even more frequent, and I think it's great. It proves that there is an appetite for the kind of things we do, which is extremely important, because we are trying to create this appetite, because we are a specialized developer. Like we have a certain type of games we love and we want to make. So just having those feedbacks, sometimes being reminded what's important, is also great. From the players. So I mean it's been great. It's good that we are 20 years old. It's been not too long ago, like 1 year ago, we turned 20. It's nice to see that we are still in the conversations even before the game is out, in our case, and even before the game is announced for our friends at Austin. So as you can imagine, it's something that we care a lot about. We share those threads, like I think every one of them, like every single person playing through Dishonored right now, we know. No, I'm joking, but not far from that. We care. It's our world. We created it. You're stepping in. We want to know how it's going. So thanks the internet for that, definitely.
Going back on that, it's just really interesting that the game lasts much longer than we usually see on the video game market. In this case, I just think it's great. Through my son, for example, he plays a lot, and recently he started up Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsider again. He finished them. He finished Prey a third time, and so we talk about it. And when he started, it was a long time ago, 2016, and he was 10. Now he's 13, and it's really interesting to have the feedback over the years. He gives me ideas on the next things to come. It's we really get new generations of players. When we were making them, we were thinking about players at the time, but now it's going, through time. We're able. It touches me a lot because that relationship is so great, and it doesn't, collect dust.
The thing that I'm excited about with Deathloop, I've been very excited about this game for a long time. And I think one of the things, there's still so much that we haven't seen, which is obviously intentional. It's very good. I remember our last conversation last year was all about the mystery of the island itself, which is still in no way, shape, or form has been tapped yet, and I'm very excited about that. Is there something that you may not have anticipated during this specific development that makes it different than Dishonored and Prey from a developer standpoint, aside from, the pandemic and the delays? Like, what's the first kind of specific thing that makes this game for you personally, Dinga and Sebastien, so different in the development process than other Arcane games you folks have worked on?
There are some things that we share in the creation of the world and working with the design, narration, but this time it's on the structure, the game's structure, the structure of the story and the way you play it. That's what's different for me. This time it was a big whiteboard. You saw a video with Dinga where he was checking boxes. We spent hours with the designers working on something that was really interesting. It's very hard to make, and for me it was the first time that I saw this much energy in design to create one loop. When you play it, it's going to seem coherent, but behind the scenes there was so much work. For me, that was a huge change. In the beginning, I always say I didn't understand. Every day I'd go see Dinga, every week. I'd realize that I was asking the same questions over and over again. I couldn't understand. I trusted them, and they did their thing, but it was crazy. And it created this relationship based on trust that went further than what we had done previously, where the different departments were separate. This time, everything was open, and at one point, we really had this revelation internally where we realized that the thing was growing, and it gave us so much energy for dialogues, music, for everything, a lot more than what we were doing previously. And I think that's really linked to how we build a loop, how we touch on time. It sounds like a cliche when you watch a movie, but when you have to do it yourself, it's completely crazy. That's really part of the project.
Je peux pas te répondre, Machel. And on my side, if my daughter doesn't invade me, re-invade me, because she just did actually. I would say that there is two things. One is kind of philosophical. I think that a lot of Arcane games, they have been tributes to some of the games we love, more or less directly. Like if you take Arx Fatalis, it's a tribute to, it's even a spiritual sequel, you could say, to Ultima Underworld. Prey has a lot of System Shock DNA. Dishonored has some Thief and some Deus Ex kind of crossbred in there. So Deathloop is also, comes from the same design philosophy, but it doesn't follow the kind of the pattern of any one game. It is maybe the most original Arcane game that we've made until now, because you cannot point at, this is kind of a reimagining of blah, I'm not saying it's entirely the first time, because the crossing was going to happen, and it didn't. You could make a case for Dark Messiah, but I think it's probably the most original exploration of our DNA and our design philosophy. And and it's been both super scary and super exciting. So I think that's something that is a good, is a good framework to think in the future for our future games. And the other thing, it's more a shootout for the narrative aspect of this game in general, because as Seb said, it is extremely, structure-wise, to make a campaign, to make a game loop, etc., around this time loop. It is something that is quite intricate, but making a story that works, that is interesting, with interesting characters, a sense of mystery, etc., while also letting the player kind of very free to explore that and discover that at their own pace, in their own way. I think that's very daring. And honestly, when we started the project, it was, yeah, we'll do our best, but we know it's not where the game will shine. Well, we were wrong, and in the best way possible, because I think the narrative team has outdone itself. They created great characters. They found, like, we always talked through those, how do we introduce this, how do we tell that, etc., with a cool head, which is not easy when things are on fire everywhere during game development, and you can even see the fires because you're at home, where it's nice and cozy. So it's a bit weird. But yeah, I think everyone kept a cool head, worked very hard, and we not only have an interesting story there, but I think we have some of our best characters, like some of the best characters we've made in Arcane games. Here, I love Colt, I love Juliana. I just when I play the game, every now and then I even if I'm replaying it a lot for testing purposes, obviously, but every now and then I click on one dialogue, because English is not my mother tongue, but so sometimes it's so snappy, but that it takes me two times to hear it, to say, oh, that's really, really funny, actually. So yeah, I love it. So yeah, I think both those things I will keep as the surprising things, I would say, of this production.
This loop is coming to a close. That was good, right? Anyways, thank you, dudes, so much for being here. It's been so fantastic to be able to talk to you guys once again, and hopefully this is it. Maybe this is the last time you get to talk to me. The game will be out, the world will be able to see it, but till then, still, I'm glad you dudes are hanging in there. I'm glad you folks are doing well. And before we leave, when can we expect the game?
We can expect the game the 14th of September on PlayStation 5 and on PC.
Brilliant. Awesome. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you, Dinga. Thank you, Sebastien. And thank you, Matthew, for being the voice as well. I'm Kurt. This is GameSpot. See you later.